Today's going to be a great day. I'm going to do great things because I'm great. If this is your first time seeing me, my name is Marcus. I've been a full-time entrepreneur since 2015. You know, one of the things that's probably the saddest, and this applies in business, this applies in life, and we've all done it. We've all been there. We've all experienced it. I'm going to break it down here for you in just a minute, give you some context on what I'm talking about. But one of the saddest things is to not even be in the mindset, to not have the courage or the willingness to even try. And the reason why people don't try is because they're afraid to fail. Now, for me, in my life, in business, failure has always been a bigger motivator than winning, right? The fear of failing. Me fearing to fail has always been a bigger motivator, right? I don't come from, you know, not to be disrespectful to my parents. They did the best job that they could do, but I'm not a trust fund kid. Everything that I have, everything that I've gotten, I've had to work for. I had to grind for it. And through that process, there's going to be some setbacks. There's going to be some failures. Now, when I say that everybody has experienced this thing and everyone has this fear, right? This fear of even trying. Think about high school days, or maybe even your elementary school days, right? I promise I'm gonna tie this all in. It's definitely gonna make sense. But think about those days, right? When the teacher was in the front of the class and they'd ask, you know, whoever knows the answer for you to go ahead and raise your hand. And you knew in your mind that you knew the answer, or at least you were 80, 90% sure that you knew the answer. But you didn't put your hand up because you didn't want to look like a failure in front of the class. You didn't want to look stupid. You didn't want to look dumb. Only for the person next to you or a row over to put their hand up and say the same thing that you were getting ready to say and get the answer right. That right there, that happens in life all the time. You're probably working at a job and you know that you want to be doing something else, but you're too afraid to step out and try something different because you don't want to look like a failure. Like I said, failures have always been more valuable to me because it just puts me one step closer to getting it right. Like I said, I'm a full-time entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur since 2015. I've had dozens and dozens and dozens of failures, right? Some people say they're L's. Yeah, it's an L, it's a learning lesson. I took my L, I learned from it, and then it's time to keep going. It's time to move on. So let me tell you about the strength of failing and turning an L into a dub, right? You can easily do it. It's just a matter of your perception and how you choose to look at something, right? Or how you choose to look at that perceived L. So there was this guy, right? This is a true story. There was this guy, I believe his name was Lonnie Johnson, I believe is his name. Anyways, Lonnie Johnson was like a NASA scientist or something. He was some type of engineer. He worked for NASA. So one day, he's working late, and he's trying to work on like this heater pump, something he's trying to work on for the space shuttles. Well, he's tinkering around, he's screwing things and unscrewing stuff. He builds up this pressure inside of this chamber. And instead of using gas or, some other form of liquid, he was just testing, so he was only using water. Well, anyways, he builds up this pressure. He releases the pressure, and it shoots clear across the room, clear across the lab. You know, it could have messed up some stuff. Who knows? I don't know. I wasn't there. But the point is, if anyone else was there, they would have looked at you like, damn, Lonnie, you just messed that whole thing up. You a failure right now. You failing. Some people would have looked at that and would have been discouraged. They would have really considered themselves a failure. But Lonnie chose to look at that and see the good in what he just did. So regardless as to what he was supposed to be doing, he took that experience and immediately said, wait a minute, I may have failed at making this heater pump or whatever it was he was supposed to be making, but that'll make a damn good water gun. So he goes, he packages it up, he patents the idea. And if you had any childhood in the 90s, right? If you had lived any part of your childhood in the 90s, then you're familiar with the super soaker. So this NASA scientist messed up at his job, but he took that mess up and turned it into $1 million business. He sold millions upon millions upon millions of super soakers, high power water guns. Still the best water guns to this day. I don't even think they make them no more. But my point is, he took what was perceived to be an L or a failure and turned it around. And that's not the only example. Like, if you want to be real about it, think about shit that people use all over the world, man. I don't know how old wine is, but I'm pretty sure the first person who made wine, he was probably just in charge of storing some grapes. Like, store these grapes for the winter and make sure you do it like this, or else we're not going to be able to eat them. They probably came back after the winter was over, thinking they're gonna have some grapes in the springtime. All that shit was liquid. So they ain't have nothing else to eat. And I don't know this is the way the story went, but this is the way it goes in my mind. They went ahead and drank the juice, and now they got wine. Wine is sold everywhere. Every store throughout the world. It's probably created because somebody failed at what they were supposed to do. But instead of just putting their head down and considering themselves a failure, they went ahead and capitalized on it. So right now, you probably got millions of people sitting at their desks inside of their cubicle, staring at them gray walls, knowing that they're working a job that they don't want to be at. And every day it feels like they're waking up and they're having to compete. They're having to just keep reliving the same failure after failure after failure. But instead of looking at it as a failure, all they got to do is make a few little tweaks and turn everything around and use it to their advantage. This is the difference between winners and losers. Losers always are going to look at the bad side of things. Winners look at the bad side of things too, but we figure out how we can use it to our advantage. How can we make that bad thing a good thing? And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to know all the answers up front. You can start really with something small. So now it's to the point, right, where I start all my videos and I say the same thing. Today's gonna be a great day. I'm gonna do great things because I'm great. There's a backstory behind it, but I'm only telling you that part so I can piggyback it to the next part. That was really something that I told my kids when they were little, right? And it's really true. One day I'll break it down. But another thing that I'd always told my kids is little great things turn into big great things. You may not be able to do the biggest, most grand thing right now, but you could start with a little great thing, right? You focus on the little wins, the little tiny wins, and eventually they'll snowball into bigger wins. So if you go into a job that you don't want to be, you don't want to be at that job no more. You know you don't want to be there, but you got to be there. You got bills to pay. You got kids to feed. You got, the whole 9 yards, everything that comes with being an adult. You have those responsibilities. Instead of looking at it like, I'm tired of being at this job, I don't want to be at this job, sit down with your boss or sit down with your manager. Hey, what is it? Is there anything that I can do that would make you look better as a manager, as a supervisor? Let them tell you anything. It could be anything. Hey, can you prepare these documents for the next meeting? Can you do this, that, or the third? Whatever the case is, you have to turn it into something that you can look forward to start to create those little great things. And you don't know, the right person might see you doing something that's outside of your scope of, that's outside of the scope of your job or the scope of your training. And they say, hey, that's a good thing. This person right here, let's look at them for a promotion. So now you don't have to worry about working all those overtime hours. Now you don't got to worry about getting a second job. Now you're putting enough money away so you can do whatever you want to do with it, whether you want to invest it, whether you want to open a business, whatever the case is. It starts with those little things. And just because something looks like a failure at first don't mean that it's a failure, right? Because what you consider a failure, somebody's praying for that failure. Somebody wishes they were in the position you were in to have the opportunity to look at what you're looking at as a failure, because what's a failure to you is really a blessing to somebody else. Always keep that into consideration. So at the end of the day, listen, keep an open mind. Keep an open mind on your business. Keep an open mind at your job. Those things that you may be considering a failure, again, those things could easily be looked at a different way and you can see the good in those things, and you can turn them and use them to your advantage. Guys, that's it for today's video. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.